Hello everyone. It's James again. And before I start today's video, I just want to quickly say, all work in this video contains 100% original content of and by myself James Smith, otherwise known as Scapegoat 4000, and was uniquely created with NAWMAL software, by myself James Smith. As I purchased commercial rights from NAWMAL to produce my unique and original video with this software. Commentary is uniquely my own thoughts, feelings, and expressions. Now that I have that out of the way, I do hope your day is going better than fantastic. Today I want to talk about something very important. And again, this is coming from another insightful and thoughtful comment. And again, the comments are learning tools for us all. So I want to thank all of you that are not only supporting this channel, but interacting with others and sharing your thoughts, feelings, and stories here. It's very helpful. And this person that made this comment basically stated they didn't feel they had a real past to look back on, because of growing up in a home filled with narcissistic abuse. And this brought me back to my growing up, and something I believe I touched on many years ago. But I want to expand upon it further. You see, though there might be unexplainable differences in someone that makes them an empath, and those that go the way of the narcissist, maybe it's genetic, maybe it's something else. But with that being said, what I can tell you is, the scapegoat, I believe they are scared when they are young. At least some of them are. And they do what they have to do to mentally survive. So they create this lie world. And eventually that lie world takes over their life. Because they never got any help for their problems. And thus they end up with a personality disorder. That becomes a fixed part of who they are. Well, I think something somewhat similar happens with the empath that grows up in such a toxic home. And I say, somewhat, because we do have the ability to self-reflect, where the narcissist doesn't. But what this similar thing I'm talking about is creating a lie world around us. You see, by and large, most empaths are pretty much honest people. If they say they are going to do something, they do it. They feel bad when they don't make good on their word. And they do whatever they have to make up for such failures. I think you get the idea. But when it comes to their home life, most of their lives, they've told several lies about the nature of their family to others. And the reason this all started was fear. Very similar to how and why the golden child created their lie world around them as well. The narcissist, however, isn't born with that chip to allow them to self-reflect. Or it gets shut off in the process of creating their lie world, to keep their brain safe from the pain that self-reflection might cause them. But our chip of self-reflection is turned on. And from the first lie we told about our family to someone, we felt guilty, sorry, ashamed, and terrible about ourselves. So much so, we tried to look within ourselves to try to see if there was a way to come clean about even the small lie to a big lie we might have told about our family and or growing up years. But even at an early age, we knew, if we tried to tell this person about this lie, and why we did so, that we would be seen as a liar. And this lie might be used against us with someone so-called joking with us about such confessions to others in public. Meaning, we wouldn't be able to live it down. So one lie turns into another lie. And another. To the point where our entire growing up story is a complete and utter lie. To where we have no history and no past we can look back on. But sadly, I will tell you, I think nowadays this is getting to be more and more commonplace, because of increased broken homes. But think about how old you were. If you can relate to this topic, think about how old you were when you were put on the spot by one of your friend's parents, or one of your classmates, or a school teacher, and you made up a story or a lie about your parents or other issues with your family. Think about how old you were. And then think about how ill-equipped you were to handle such a situation because you were just too young to know what the heck was going on. But once you told that first lie, instinctually you knew you had to keep lying because if you didn't and you confessed, that in your mind it would bring pain. And sadly how ruthless and non-understanding a lot of people can be. You might have been at least semi-right about that assessment. But this is where healthy parenting comes into play. And this is the reason why I think so many people grow up with so many problems, because it's these little things that are missed and go unchecked in people in our society. Pain that just goes unchecked. You might have gotten away from your narcissistic home of origin. You might even were able to move away. Heck, some of these family members might not even be living anymore. But all of these new people still know a lie about you and your life. And you walk around with double pain. And double guilt. And double shame. The pain of what growing up in a narcissistic home brings. But also the shame and guilt of feeling like a liar as a result. And in this subject, I don't have a good answer, at least at this juncture, to provide. On one hand, people don't need to know your life story. It's none of your business. And on the other hand, you don't want to walk around being a liar. Now I will say this. I thought about it from a biblical sense. There were many instances in the Bible where different people had to hide things about their life because they were fleeing a bad situation. If they were talking to someone in authority that could potentially do something bad to them, they might not provide certain details about their life. That could bring them some form of harm. And they might have even provided a lie of sorts in order to stay hidden and to stay safe. But then on the other hand, the Bible talks about lying as being a bad thing. And this is where I just say, I don't have all of the answers on this topic. But what I will say is, this goes back to when we've talked about escaping from a narcissist. You wouldn't tell the narcissist of your escape plans. And you might even tell a lie. That could buy you time to get your plans in motion. Same with if you were a POW. You wouldn't tell the guards you were escaping on Thursday afternoon at 2 o'clock. No. You would provide whatever information you had to provide to make sure you could escape. But it still doesn't make us feel any better that we had to lie to someone about certain things. Here's an example. I grew up without money and fairly poor. And no, I didn't walk around saying my mother was rich. However, I remember at one school I was at, a teacher, now looking back, I think did this on purpose. Because she wanted to get an answer from me as to what my mother did for a living. Because again, my mother used to really misuse and abuse the help of teachers and the parents of my classmates at my school. Until they really had enough of my narcissist mother. So one day, and I can't remember how old I was. I know I was really young. The teacher asked us to just randomly say what our parents did for a living. And I got this hot and cold chill through my body. I was literally terrified. Literally. Because my mother never worked a day in her life. Her job was being a narcissist and getting money because she had me and my brother, and she destroyed my father in family court. Other than that, she slept most days. And that's it. She wasn't interested in bettering her life. She was just interested in using myself and my golden child brother as a check. So when it got to be my turn to answer the question, I just froze up and said, I don't know. There was dead air and a big pause. And then the next classmate answered. So forth and so on. What's interesting? There was literally no point to this exercise. It wasn't used for anything. Except humiliation. And to get an answer. They weren't thinking, nor did they care about how it would make me feel. They didn't care that I was literally terrified. And later on, when I ended up at another school with completely different people. And though I was a little bit older, I was still quite young. Guess what happened? I lied. I lied about what my mother did for a living. Again. I didn't say she was a millionaire. But in order to not face that feeling of saying I don't know, I lied instead. Now this didn't take away from that terrible gut feeling. The feeling of being terrified to be asked such a question. And the feeling of hoping someone doesn't figure out that it's all made up. Because it hurt each and every time. And all of this happening at such a young age takes something out of you and from your experience growing up. You don't have a family you can even remotely be proud of. Yes. There are some people that grew up in economically poor but loving homes. That might have felt the same way at times. But usually they grow out of it. They start to see the bigger picture that their parents care and love them. And work hard to support them. And maybe they weren't given the best hand in the world and they are just doing their best to raise their family. But when you have a narcissist mother or father, or both, surface level stuff might be only part of the problem. With me, it was a big part of the problem. My mother was a hoarder. And I think she was a hoarder because she really had a serious problem. But she also knew it would become a source of shame for myself and my brother. And making it so we wouldn't want to bring anyone to our home. And if we did, we would be greatly embarrassed. My mother never worked. My mother didn't have an education. And she would laugh about and openly flaunt the fact she didn't have a good education to others. My mother in public would cause a scene in order to get as many free things as she could possibly get. And would force myself and my brother out in front so she could get whatever it was she wanted. And when I finally grew up, though I was blessed to make a few good memories with a couple of good friends, a good portion of my growing up life was a mishmash of daily pain and daily misery and lying to stay mentally afloat. And I don't think any young person should have to go through that. Look. Growing up is growing up. It's not perfect. Nor was it meant to be. But your parent or parents are supposed to know this fact. And guide you along your journey so you can make your way through it. So by the time you are ready to leave the house, you are well equipped to take care of yourself. And well equipped to interact with others. And though you might not have been the richest person financially, or maybe you were really rich, or maybe middle class, who knows? You still have a support system at home with people that love you. And you have a sense of pride in that. But here's where all of this goes away. And this is the best answer I can give. Is with you not beating yourself up for what happened. You were young. You didn't have a life. And you were trying to create a false one that you believed would meet up to society's standards. And this was the only way you had to cope with your situation. The other thing is, though lying isn't a good thing, not everyone means you well. And keeping something hidden about you and your life might be needed to avoid being put in the gossip bucket for others to feed on your life shortcomings. But the big part of it is the next generation. If you have a family, make sure they know what you went through when they are old enough to process such information. But not until then. Because you don't want to burden them with such things until they have the ability to think through what you are telling them. But most importantly, to provide for them a family life they can be proud of. And I'm not talking about money here. If you are poor, it's important to talk to your sons and daughters on a regular basis to make sure they are coping in a healthy way. And you provide better chances for them to succeed in life. And if you are rich, same thing. Talk with them. And make sure they aren't getting swollen heads and they know what those that have less have to go through. Basically be a supportive parent they can be proud of. When they are asked a question about their home life, they have the proper skills on how to keep their home life private. And why that is important in today's society. But they can also answer in a proud way. That makes them feel good about themselves and the family they are from. And in that, you know the cycle of narcissistic abuse is broken. And that your kids know this fact too. They will be able to look back on their family with a smile and with pride. And though we will be unable to do this as well, it's just the fact of life. But how do we deal with this sad fact? Well, We can talk about it in places like right here. Because this is pain you just can't tell a stranger on the street. Nor should you tell a coworker. Or even a new friend. And the fact is, this is the thing I struggle with the most. I've gotten better about it. I've come to understand that no good will come from telling all of my family secrets to people. And again, I looked at biblical examples of people needing to hide certain things about their life. At certain times. Because society was so problematic and they would end up in serious trouble if they didn't stay hidden. And as we know, though there are some decent good-hearted people out there in the world, there are a lot of jealous, spiteful, mean-spirited people out there as well. Just looking for any weakness they can find in you or you to exploit. With that said, we are still hurt because we have no past. No real past we can look back on. It's just a mishmash of stuff. Being gaslit. Talked about. Scapegoat. And trying to survive it all. And the best we can do is create a better future for ourselves and the next generation. Did any of this spark a chord in you? Is any of this familiar to you? Let's all talk about it here. With that said, I do hope your day is blessed. And until next time. Bye for now. And be good to yourself.